Hello, Kids Wise learners. Welcome back to Kids Wise Corner. Today, we are going to go through the Grade 7 Term 3 Geography test together. I will read the questions, explain them, and give you the correct answers. This will help you prepare for your exams the smart way. Let's get started. Question 1. True or false? Whether the following statements are true or false. 1.1. Birth rate is the number of deaths per 1,000 people per year in a country. This is false because the birth rate is about babies being born, not deaths. So this is false. 1.2. Death rate is the number of live babies born per 1,000 people per year in a country. This is false because the death rate is about people dying, not babies being born. So this is false. Question 1.3. Migration is when people move from one country to another. This is true because migration means moving into or out of a country. 1.4. Immigrants are people who come to live in a country. This is true. For example, someone moving to South Africa to live becomes an immigrant. Question 1.5. Infant is a child over the age of 1 year. This is false because infant is a child under the age of 1 year. Question 2. Complete the missing information. Use the words in the box to complete the missing information. Write only the number and the correct word. Our words in the word box is infant mortality rate, life expectancy, population growth rate, birth rate, effects, and increases. 2.1. The population growth rates of 6 countries you have studied changed when we include the something of migration, when we include the effects of migration. So let's strike off effects. 2.2. South Africa's population growth rate something from 4 to 5 because of immigration. So South Africa's population growth rate increases from 4 to 5. Let's take off increases. 2.3. Something is the increase in the number of people in a country in 1 year. Its population growth rate is the increase in the number of people in a country in 1 year. So its population growth rate. 2.4. The something is the number of babies who die in a country before they are 1 year old. So that would be infant mortality rate. So we've done population growth rate, infant mortality rate. Something is the age to which people can expect to live. Life expectancy is the answer. Life expectancy. So life expectancy is the age to which people can expect to live. Question 3. Complete the table. Complete the table below showing birth rates and death rates of 5 countries. Complete the population growth rate. So here we've got the country, Niger, Mozambique, South Africa, United States and Germany. We've got the birth rate for each of these countries. We've got the death rate for each of its countries. What you are required is to calculate the population growth rate. So do you know what's the formula to calculate the population growth rate? So population growth rate equals to birth rate minus death rate. So population growth rate equals to birth rate minus death rate. So for Niger, we know the birth rate is 51 and the death rate is 13. So the population growth rate for Niger will be 51 minus 13, which equals to 38. So the population growth rate for Niger is 38. For Mozambique, the birth rate is 40, the death rate is 15. The population growth rate will be 25. For South Africa, the birth rate is 19, the death rate is 15. So the population growth rate for South Africa is 4. For United States, the birth rate is 14, the death rate is 8, the population growth rate is 6. For Germany, the population growth rate is 8, the death rate is 10. So the population growth rate is -2 or a -2. So what do you think the -2 means? It means it's a negative growth. This means it's a negative growth. Question 4, data interpretation. Study the table below and answer the questions that follow. So we've got the country, we've got Niger, Mozambique, South Africa, United States, Germany and Japan. And we've got the infant mortality rate for each country. (4.1) The table above shows the infant mortality rates for different countries. Which country have the highest infant mortality rates? So looking at this and looking at the stats that's provided, the country with the highest infant mortality rate is Niger, because it has an infant mortality rate of 113. So for 4.1, the answer is Niger. 4.2, suggest 2 reasons. Okay, please ignore the spelling here. Suggest 2 reasons why infant mortality rates are high in these countries. The reasons for high infant mortality could be because it says for 2 marks, so we should give 2 answers. One could be poor health care. And another option could be lack of clean water and food security. So they don't have food, they don't have clean water. Okay. Question 4.3. Which country in the table above have the lowest infant mortality rates? If we look at the values here, the lowest is Japan. So which country in the table have the lowest infant mortality rates? It's Japan. 4.4. Suggest two reasons why infant mortality rates are low in these countries. Two reasons why infant mortality rates are low in these countries. It could be they have excellent healthcare systems. You have good nutrition and living conditions. For question 4.3, which says which country in the table above have the lowest infant mortality rates? It's also United States and Japan as well. But because it said the lowest was Japan with 3, so therefore we only wrote Japan. Next question. Decreasing the population of the country later hurt the economy. Explain one way in which low birth rate can affect a country like Germany. So with fewer young people, the country will have less workers in the future, which can hurt the economy. So when there's fewer young people, the country will have less workers in the future, which can hurt the economy and affect the economy. Five, study the source and answer the questions below. So here we've got the diseases, the source, prevention and treatment. So the diseases, we've got diarrhea. The source of it is transmitted by infected food and water, also lack of hygiene. To prevent diarrhea, better hygiene, boil water. Treatment is sugar and salt and medicines. For malaria, its source is mosquitoes. Prevention is mosquito nets, insect repellents, short-term drugs. Treatment is medicines and sometimes hospital treatment. Then we've got TB and HIV and AIDS. The source is through close contact with people, blood and body fluids. Prevention is vaccinations for TB, where you can avoid unprotected sexual contact and contact with other people's blood and body fluids. Treatment is strong medicines can cure TB, and HIV can be managed with medicines but not cured. Next, we've got COVID-19. Its source is close contact with people. Prevention is either through sanitization, constantly washing your hands, social distancing, and wearing a mask. The treatment is COVID-19 can be managed. 5.1. Explain how the following diseases are spread. Malaria. So malaria is spread by mosquitoes. B. Diarrhea. It's spread by infected food and water. It also could be a lack of hygiene. HIV and AIDS, it is spread through blood. It could be spread through body fluids. It could be spread through unprotected sexual contact. TB, it is spread through close contact with infected people. So if somebody coughs and if you are in the vicinity with them, you can pick it up because TB is an airborne disease, but that's how you can contract it. So if you're in close contact with an infected person who has TB, you can easily pick it up because it is airborne. Give 3 ways to prevent the spread of COVID-19. To prevent COVID-19, there is COVID-19 prevention, any of the options here. So it could be wash or sanitize hands. So one would be wash or sanitize hands. It could be through social distancing. It could be through wearing a mask. Question 5. Still continuing, 5.3. What is the simplest way to treat a person with diarrhea? The simplest way is through a sugar and salt solution and drinking boiled clean water. So a sugar and salt solution. This will help you to prevent you from dehydrating. So it's helping for rehydration. It rehydrates you, prevented you from becoming dehydrated. And drinking boiled clean water. Take note of the marks. If it says 2 marks, then you give 2 points. If it says 1 mark, you give 1 point. So what is the simplest way to treat a person with diarrhea? A sugar and salt solution or and a drinking boiled clean water. Question 5. Study the source and answer the questions below. The Black Death in Europe. The real name for the Black Death is bubonic plague. Bubonic plague was spread by fleas that lived on rats. People infected with bubonic plague got sores all over their bodies. Before they died, parts of their body turned black. Bubonic plague killed about half of Europe's population. That could have been 100 million people. There was no cure for bubonic plague. People either survived or they died a horrible and painful death. Here is an image of a painting showing people dying of bubonic plague. This article or source was adapted from the Platinum Learner book. Based on this source, what is another name for the Black Death? Bubonic plague. So according to source, give one symptom that were experienced by the people who were affected by this disease. They had sores all over the body. And they had body parts turning black. Give one effect of Black Death on the population of Europe. The effect was it killed half of Europe's population. Question 6. Study the graph and answer the questions below. A line graph showing the growth in the world's population. So we've got the world's population in the billions of people, and then we've got the year. So from 1 AD all the way up to the year 2011, this is showing the graph in terms of the world's population. So if you look at here, it's 1650, there was 500 million of people. By the year 1800, there was 1 billion. By 1960, 3 billion. 1987, 5 billion. 1999, 6 billion. And by the year 2011, 7 billion. In which year did the world's population reach 1 billion? So if we look on our graph, and if we look for 1 billion, there's it here. So in which year did the world's population reach 1 billion? There's 1 billion here. It's the year 1800. How many years did it take the world's population to double from 3 billion to 6 billion? So if we look at 3 billion, it's in 1960, and we got 6 billion in 1999. So how many years did it take the world's population to double from 3 billion to 6 billion? So we'll say the year 1999 take away the year 1960 will give us 39 years. So 1999 from 1960 to 1999 is equals to 39 years. What are the developments or factors that have contributed to the rapid growth of the world's population from 1930 to 2011? According to the graph above, give the two developments. So from 1930, which was 2 billion, to 2011 is 7 billion. So what were the developments? There could have been better medical care. There could have been improved food production. There could have been technology advancements. So any two. Question 7. Read the source and answer the questions that follow. Economic status. Economic status is the amount of money someone has or a group of people have compared to other people. Economic status affects birth rates and death rates. So we've got the wealthy people and we've got the poor people. So under the wealthy people, wealthier people have fewer children. Infant mortality rates are lower in wealthier countries, and wealthier people are able to spend more money on healthcare. For poor people often have more children than wealthier people. The infant mortality rate is higher in poor countries, and poor people cannot afford to spend money on health care. So questions 7.1. List one factor from the source above that affect birth rates and say why you think it does. So the factor that's affecting birth rates is wealthier people have fewer children because children are expensive to raise. So wealthier people have fewer children. Therefore, it affects the birth rate. Wealthier people have fewer children. And why do you think they have fewer children? Because children are expensive to raise. Seven point two. List one factor from the source above that will affect death rates and say why you think it does. So factors affecting death rates will be wealthier people can spend more money on health care, so death rates are lower. So we're saying wealthier people can spend more money on health care. So death rates are lower. Suggest one reason why poor people have many children than wealthier people. Because so poor people may have more children because they expect some children may not survive. Or because baby children help support the family. Okay. Question 8, paragraph writing. Write a paragraph about 7 to 8 lines on how scientific developments and improved healthcare increased the world population. So here, scientific developments and improved healthcare have helped increase the world's population because better medical treatments have reduced death rates, vaccinations have prevented deadly diseases, we've got improved farming methods which led to more food, which actually prevented hunger and malnutrition. With availability of clean water and sanitation, there were fewer people dying from infections. People now live longer, which actually increases the life expectancy. So these scientific changes have caused the world's population to grow quickly. So let's write some points down. So scientific developments and improved healthcare have helped increase the world's population. So better medical treatment has reduced death rates. And vaccinations have prevented deadly diseases. Improved farming methods have led to more food. And if you have more food available, this prevents hunger and malnutrition. With clean water and sanitation, fewer people die from infections. So people now live longer. Which increases life expectancy. So these scientific changes have caused the world's population to grow quickly. So these scientific changes have caused the world's population to grow quickly. Matching. Match column A with column B, and you will write your answer in column C. In column A, we've got number 1, the Black Death, number 2, smallpox, number 3, malaria, number 4, HIV and AIDS, number 5, cholera. In column B, we've got is transmitted by mosquitoes. B is transmitted by unhygienic or unclean food and water. C, we've got killed 300 to 500 million people through history. D, 2/3 of people in Europe died from this disease. And E, can be managed by medicines, but there is no cure. Column A, number 1, the Black Death. The Black Death is where 2/3 of people in Europe died from this disease. That is D. Number 2, smallpox. Smallpox where it killed 300 to 500 million people through history. So smallpox is C. Malaria, it is transmitted by mosquitoes. So that is A. Question 4, HIV and AIDS. This can be managed by medicines, but there is no cure. That is E. And cholera, it is transmitted by unhygienic food and water. This is B. Question 10. Study the graph below and answer the questions. The graph shows China's birth rate since 1979 when the one-child policy was introduced. So here I've got China's birth rate has fallen in recent years. Here you've got Total number of births in China per 1,000 people, which is between the year 1978 to the year 2020. So here you can see in 1979 when the one-child policy came into effect, so the birth rate increased a little, and then since this policy came into effect, the birth rate had fallen, and there you can see by 2020 the graph is going down, but in the year 2016 the two-child policy came into effect. Let's answer the questions. Why did China introduce a one-child policy in 1979? It was to control rapid population growth. So China introduced a one-child policy in 1979 to control rapid population growth. Did the government's one-child policy reduce China's birth rate? Yes, the policy did reduce the birth rate significantly because you can see the decline. So yes, the policy did reduce China's birth rate. Significantly. So this is as seen by the drop in the graph. How did the government punish people who had more than one child? They were punished with fines. Some of them had job losses. Some of them were given no government benefits. Why did the government introduce a two-child policy in 2016? It was because the population was aging and there were fewer young workers. Question 11. Study the table below and answer the questions. So below is the life expectancy at birth for 5 countries. We've got Mozambique, Japan, France, South Africa, and Brazil. The life expectancy at birth for Mozambique was 52 years, Japan 84 years, France 81 years, South Africa 49 years, and Brazil 73 years. So, question 1. Life expectancy is the average number of years a person is expected to live. So it is the average number of years a person is expected to live. Name the country with the highest expectancy. So the country with the highest expectancy is Japan. And how many years is Japan? 84 years. What is the life expectancy of the average South African? The life expectancy of a South African is 49 years. How does the life expectancy in South Africa compare with France? So South Africa is 49 years. And France, there's France here, 81 years. So how does the life expectancy in South Africa compare with France? South Africa's expectancy is much lower than France. We say South Africa's life expectancy which is 49 years, is much lower than France life expectancy, because France life expectancy is 81 years. Give one possible reason for your answer in 4. It could have been through South Africa's struggles with diseases. And the diseases that we're struggling with is, it could be HIV and AIDS. It could be TB and poor healthcare access. Question 12, Task 1, Matching. Match meanings to show understanding. Match the correct words in the first column with the meanings in the second column from the table below. The words, number 1 is life expectancy, 2 pandemic, 3 infant mortality, 4 population growth, 5 sanitation. Their meanings: A is disease that spreads across many countries. B, the difference between birth rates and death rates. C, management of water supplies and sewage. D, how long people can expect to live. And E, the number of babies per 1,000 births that die before their first birthday. So number 1, life expectancy is how long people can expect to live. Let's just write that better there. Okay, pandemic. A pandemic is a disease that spreads across many countries. So a pandemic is A. Infant mortality is the number of babies who die before their first birthday. That'll be E. Population growth is the difference between birth rates and death rates. That is B. And sanitation is the management of water supplies and sewage. C. All done. Question 12. Interpret a graph. Task 2. Match the letters A to D on the graph in figure 1 below with these labels: death rate, time, population numbers, and birth rates. So we have identified that line A is actually the time at the start and at the end of the graph. This is the time period that has elapsed. So A is the time period. Here it says high birth rate and high but fluctuating death rate. So we still are not sure which one it is, the birth, and which is the death rate. Let's read on. In stage 2, it says a declining death rate and continuing high birth rate. So this red looks like it is the birth rate, because it says there high birth rate and declining death rate. So this here in green is the death rate. So our C is the death rate and our D is the birth rate. Which leaves B as our population numbers. Which stage on the graph shows a time when both the birth rates and the death rates are close together? 1, 2, 3, or 4? The birth rate and the death rate in stage 1 is where they are close together. It's stage 1. Because you can see they both are very similar. Here, the death rate is a little stagnant. It's in a straight line, but the birth rate is high and low. But here you can see the trend is the same. Which stage shows a situation when population growth rates are the highest? So the population growth rate is so B is our population numbers. So the highest population growth rate is in stage 4. Because you can see in the population it's increasing. And it's in this stage. Which stage is close to South Africa's population growth rate? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Normally in stage 3. Task 3, birth rate and infant mortality rate graph. Describe factors that affect birth rates and infant mortality rates. The country shown in figure 2 has a high birth rate. Use the terms economic status and family needs to explain why this country may have a huge high birth rate. As you can see, there's an image for figure 2. And let's get back to the previous question. So the answer for use the term economic status and family needs to explain why this country may have a high birth rate. So in poor countries or in poorer countries, economic status is low. So families need many children to help with work and to care for parents in old age. So economic status is low. So families need many people or many children to help with work and to care for parents in old age. Okay, the country has an infant mortality rate of 89 per 1,000 live births. Explain what the infant mortality rate is in your own words. So, infant mortality rate is the number of babies who die before their first birthday out of 1,000 births. So, the infant mortality rate is the number of babies So it is the number of babies who die before their first birthday. Out of 1,000 births. Name one factor that affects the infant mortality rate. It could have been lack of health care, nutrition could be an issue, clean water, no access to clean water. These all can affect infant mortality rates. How does the infant mortality rate affect a country's life expectancy? It can lower life expectancy, because more children die young. The health worker in Figure 2 has explained to these mothers why they can help lower the infant mortality in their community. Suggest two things he may have told them. He could have told them to improve hygiene and sanitation. He could have told them to ensure the kids are vaccinated regularly. He could have told them to ensure access to clean water. So these are some of the things that this health worker would have explained to mothers to help lower the infant mortality in their community. Question 12, Task 4, Birth rate and death rate. Task 4, Understanding factors that affect the birth rate and death rate. Discuss one pandemic that has affected Europe and one that has affected Africa in the past. In Europe, we spoke earlier about Black Death or the bubonic plague. And this was in the 14th century. So in Europe, there was Black Death in the 14th century, and the effect that it had was it killed millions, almost half of Europe's population. In Africa, the one pandemic that we have is HIV and AIDS, and this has reduced life expectancy. Compare the two diseases that claim the most lives in Africa each year. So the two diseases that have claimed most lives in Africa each year is HIV and AIDS and malaria. So HIV weakens the immune system, and while malaria is spread by mosquitoes. So together they cause high death rates. Write a simple explanation of China's one-child policy. It is a law that most families could only have one child. So it is a law that most families could only have one child. Explain why the Chinese government introduced the one-child policy. It was introduced to reduce rapid population growth. It was used to reduce rapid population growth. Give two benefits of people or give two benefits of couples only having one child. So families can provide better education and health care. And less strain on natural resources. Task 5, population growth. Summarize the effects on population growth. List the 4 missing factors that affect population growth in the diagram in figure 3. And B says choose 2 of your answers from 5A above and summarize how each factor affects population growth. Discuss one pandemic that has affected Europe and one that has affected Africa in the past. In Europe, we spoke earlier about Black Death or the bubonic plague. And this was in the 14th century. So in Europe, there was Black Death in the 14th century. And the effect that it had was it killed millions. Almost half of Europe's population. In Africa, the one pandemic that we have is HIV and AIDS. And this has reduced life expectancy. Compare the two diseases that claim the most lives in Africa each year. So the two diseases that have claimed most lives in Africa each year is HIV and AIDS and malaria. So HIV weakens the immune system, and while malaria is spread by mosquitoes. So together they cause high death rates. Write a simple explanation of China's one-child policy. It is a law that most families could only have one child. So it is a law that most families could only have one child. Explain why the Chinese government introduced the one-child policy. It was introduced to reduce rapid population growth. It was used to reduce rapid population growth. Give two benefits of couples only having one child. So families can provide better education and health care. And less strain on natural resources. Question 12. Population growth. Summarize the effects on population growth. So here they've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they've given us the 5 and 6. So the things that affect population growth is scientific development, increased food production, and the 4 other missing factors are not labeled here. So question A says list the 4 missing factors that affect population growth in the diagram in figure 3. So the first one is birth rate. So number 1, we'll label that as birth rate. Number 2, if this is birth rate, this will be death rate. Next one we'll have migration. And the fourth one will be infant mortality. So the 6 factors that affect population growth is birth rate, death rate, migration, infant mortality, scientific development, and increased food production. So A is done. Choose 2 of your answers from 5A above and summarize how each factor affects population growth. So let's talk about each one. But you can choose any 2 that you would like to use. So the first one we're talking about is scientific development. So under scientific development, it says factors affecting population growth. It could have been better medicine and technology have reduced deaths and increased life expectancy. So better medicine and technology reduce deaths and increase life expectancy. That's one. The second one we talk about is increased food production. With increased food production, more food means fewer people die of hunger. So the population grows. The next one, we will talk about birth rate. And with birth rate, it means more births, increased population. So fewer births slow it down. Next, we're talking about death rate. High deaths reduce the population. So low deaths increase it. Next, we're talking about migration. With migration, immigration adds people. And emigration reduces people. And the last one, infant mortality. With infant mortality, lower infant deaths raises the population. And high infant deaths, slow growth. Okay, we are continuing. What is immunization? Immunization is where you give vaccines to protect against diseases. So it's giving vaccines to protect against diseases. B. Name 4 diseases against which children can be immunized. They can be immunized against diseases like measles, polio, TB, and diphtheria. How has immunization caused a fall in the infant mortality rate? So immunization, it lowers infant mortality. So immunization lowers, okay, the spelling. So immunization lowers infant mortality rate. Immunization lowers infant mortality rate because children survive early diseases. D. How has immunization caused a rise in population growth rate? It's because more children live to adulthood. So more children live to adulthood from being immunized. So I'll list 3 ways in which food products can be increased: through irrigation methods, it can be through use of fertilizers, and it could be through mechanized farming methods. Explain the difference between the following concepts: birth rate and death rate. So birth rate is the number of babies born and death rate is the number of people dying. So birth rate is the number of babies born and death rate is the number of people dying. A negative population growth and positive population growth rate. So a negative population growth rate is where the population is increasing. A positive population growth rate. So let's start with the negative. A negative population growth rate is where the decrease in the population or shrinking of the population. The population is decreasing. And a positive population growth rate so a positive population is the population is increasing. Explain the difference between an epidemic and pandemic. An epidemic is a local outbreak. And pandemic is globally spread. Contraception and sterilization. Contraception is to prevent pregnancy. And sterilization is permanent prevention. Task 6 on world population growth. Read what these two families, family A and family B, have to say about family size. Family A says, as my wife and I get older, we will need our children to look after us and tend the fields and look after the cows. 3 of our children have already died, 1 at birth and the other 2 of diarrhea. So we must have as many children as we can. Then we've got family B, and family B says, my wife and I met at the university. She is a lecturer now, and I am a doctor. We both earn good salaries and we will get good pensions when we retire. We have decided to limit our family to 2 children. This will mean my wife can continue her career and we can give our children the best education and provide a good home for them. Question A. Give 2 reasons why family A needs to have more children. So family A needs more children because they need children for work and support in old age. So they need to have, they need, so they need children to work and support in old age. Give 2 reasons family B decided to have only 2 children. They decided to have fewer children to afford better education and lifestyle. So family B decided to have only 2 children because they wanted to give the children best education and provide a good home for them. So they wanted to give them a good lifestyle by providing a good home for them. Compare the infant mortality rate of the 2 families. Family A has a higher infant mortality rate. And family B has a lower infant mortality rate. Why have some of family A's children died? They died from poor health care, and diseases like diarrhea. What is life expectancy? Life expectancy is average years a person is expected to live. It is average years a person is expected to live. Discuss 2 possible causes of a fall in life expectancy in a country. Will be HIV and AIDS, it could be due to war, poor health care. Discuss 2 possible causes of a rise in life expectancy in a country. They could be due to better medicine, It could be to better nutrition, could be improved sanitation, names and description. We've got malaria, smallpox, Black Death, dehydration, tuberculosis, vaccination, epidemic, genocide, pandemic, and migrate. The descriptions we have for A is a dangerous lack of water in the body. B does not affect you if you live at a high altitude. C, a disease of the lungs. D, move from one country to another. E, an inoculation to produce an immunity to a disease. F, only affect the elderly. G, causes nasty spots on the skin. H, killed millions in the 14th century. I, an outbreak of a disease which spreads very quickly. J, the killing of people on large scale. K, having a widespread effect affecting many countries. L, put on plants to kill weeds. And M, caused by being bitten by mosquito. So let's go. The first one is malaria. Malaria is caused by being bitten by mosquitoes. So malaria is M. Smallpox. Smallpox is spots on the skin. So the one with spots on the skin is G, causes nasty spots on the skin. The next one is Black Death. Black Death killed millions in the 14th century. That is H. Dehydration. Dehydration is a lack of water. So a dangerous lack of water in the body is A. Tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is a lung disease. A disease of the lungs is C. Vaccination. A vaccination is an inoculation to produce an immunity to a disease. Epidemic. An epidemic is something that is quickly spreading. It's a quickly spreading outbreak. So a quickly spreading outbreak will be I, an outbreak of a disease which spreads very quickly. Genocide. A genocide is mass killing of people. The killing of people on a large scale is genocide. Pandemic. Pandemic is a worldwide effect, having a widespread effect affecting many countries is pandemic. Migrate. Migrate means moving from one country to another. So moving from one country to another is D. Those are our options. How did the invention of canned food affect the life expectancy rate? So canned foods improved storage, thereby reducing hunger and disease, and therefore causes a higher life expectancy. So canned food improved storage, canned food improved storage, and it reduced hunger and diseases. And when you reduce hunger and diseases, it causes a higher life expectancy. B. How has the increased production of food contributed to population growth? More food means people live longer and the population grows. So, more food means people live longer. And the population grows. Okay, we're almost to the end. We're studying the graph and answering the questions on infectious disease outbreaks. This is between the year 1996 to year 2009, where on the left-hand side we've got the number of outbreaks. At the bottom we've got the year, the timeline. We've got two countries. We've got Europe, Africa, and we've got the world as well. Let's have a look. In what year was the highest number of infectious disease outbreaks recorded in the world? So if you look at this, the highest infectious disease recorded in the world is here. There's the peak here. There's the world graph. The highest peak is here. And that was in 1998. Did the number of outbreaks of infectious disease increase or decrease from 1996 to 2009? So the number of infectious outbreaks in 1996 in the world, it was here, maybe around 32. And as you can see, to 2009, it's now up to, if that's 15, this is about 12. So did the number of outbreaks of infectious disease increase or decrease from 1996 to 2009? In the world, it decreased. In Africa, the number of infectious diseases also decreased. You can see the graph is going down. It's here, and originally it started there, also decreased. Refer to the lines of Africa and the world. What effect do these statistics have on population growth? Explain your answer. So looking at this, we can see there's fewer outbreaks. So the population grows because fewer people die from disease. So there's fewer outbreaks. So the population grows because Fewer outbreaks because the population grows because fewer people die from disease. We're almost to the end. We've got just about another 4 more questions. Explain how improved sanitation would affect the number of outbreaks of infectious diseases in a region. So improved sanitation means fewer outbreaks as waste is managed properly. So improved sanitation means fewer outbreaks. And with fewer outbreaks, it means wastewater is managed properly. Explain how a better understanding of disease control and infection would affect the number of outbreaks of infectious diseases in a region. So better disease control knowledge means communities prevent infections. Better disease control knowledge So better disease control knowledge means communities prevent infections. They learn the risks. Explain how improved healthcare would affect the number of outbreaks of infectious diseases in a region. So improved healthcare will the outbreaks are treated faster, resulting in fewer deaths. Better healthcare leads to outbreaks treated faster, resulting in fewer deaths. Judging by the graph, would you say that the control of infectious disease improved in the world during the period? Explain your answer. Yes, the control has improved. So yes, control of infectious diseases have improved, but the data shows fewer outbreaks worldwide. Well done, kids, wise learners. You've just completed a full revision of Grade 7 Term 3 Geography questions and answers. We've covered everything from life expectancy and infant mortality to pandemics, birth rates, and world population growth. Remember, Exams are not about memorizing answers, but about understanding the reasons behind them. That's what makes you confident in geography. I wish you all the very best in your upcoming test. Go out there, do your best, and make yourselves proud. Until next time, this is Kids Wise Corner, helping you to stay smart, sharp, and ready for success. See you on our next adventure.
Kids Wise Corner, where learning takes flight. With new videos uploaded weekly, everything's right. Hit the bell, stay tuned, let us help you grow. At Kids Wise Corner, you are joining the winning team for sure.